Hey everyone, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to the Slowest Blitz where we are playing Asphodel. This is turn 39, and this is where the game goes from bad to worse for us. But still interesting. Still fun. So let's just go through things as we normally would, right? Dark Knowledge found nothing. At the End of the Rainbow found nothing. Haruspex did find a Grove of Fertility. That's good. Nothing on Arcade Probing. Nothing on Arcade Probing. Found an Enchanted Field with another Haruspex, and found nothing at the end of it. So 2 additional Nature Gems, I believe, out of those 2 Haruspexes. And then we have a whole host of battles. Obviously, there is the battle at Vaclez, which we were anticipating. But then there is another battle that we'll take a look at. So we'll run through all of these. Most of these are going to be little situations. So we get hit by a raiding party here. Nothing really going on, so no big deal. Valador, easy. We get hit in Black Harbor. There are a fair number of crossbow here, as well as some Logrian warriors. And there's really nothing here either. No big deal there as well. We attack in Glistening Wood. We have a little section of Jade Maidens here. And he has some Knights of Avalon. So this is not going to go well for us. Jade Maidens are not going to stack up against the Knights of Avalon. Especially not if they... Oh, hey, they did divert. But it doesn't matter. They are almost incapable... Oh, I was going to say almost incapable of wounding the Knights of Avalon, but they did kind of chip down one. I bet that's a replay bug, though. I bet we got nothing. But let's see. In Glistening Woods... Oh, we actually did kill 3 Knights of Avalon. So 10 Jade Maidens versus 9 Knights of Avalon. We kill 3, we lose 10. So, alright. Fair enough. Considering the cost, 90 gold versus 45 gold, you know, that's kind of fair. I guess, in theory, if we had 20 Jade Maidens up against 9 Knights of Avalon, and there wasn't, you know, a whole bunch of PD to kind of like help the mix, then maybe things would look out okay, I guess. But yeah, so there is that. So not a complete loss, but still a loss, right? Not a complete and total, like, shutout. We get a hit off in Vangar. We have a small segment of heavy infantry. We have a small group of Black Centaur. And there's more knights. There's just knights everywhere. There's just knights everywhere. So this, I can't imagine is going to go well. Black Centaurs do try to cut him off, and do get popped. In Vangar, yeah, it goes worse for us. We do kill 2 monks, so there is that. But we lose the 4 Black Centaurs, lose the 9 heavy infantries, lose our Centaur Hierophant. Not much going on. And you can see this is a reoccurring trend of there's a lot of PD in Manish lands. So that is a bit of an issue. We attack in Bycliff. This is one of those constantly trading locations, so it does only have 1 PD, so we do take it. We attack in Eagle Reach Mountains. This, we actually pulled together a couple of disparate squads. So we do have some Black Centaurs on the wings. We've got some Centaur Warriors in the center. And there's more Knights of Avalon here. There's also a lot of PD, right? So, looks like we get a hit where some of these Knights of Avalon fight these Black Centaurs. Others fight these other Black Centaurs. In reality, that is not quite what happens here. What instead happens is our Black Centaurs do actually do very well. If I remember the battle correctly, we actually did get a couple of Black Centaurs to match up against his Knights of Avalon. They held for a very long time. The regular Centaurs kind of got smashed. We broke the Knights of Avalon. Did we break the Knights of Avalon? I can't remember. Either way, they did fairly well. But in the meantime, our Centaur Hierophants all died. But because of the Berserker, the Black Centaurs continued to rampage. And somehow we won this. Wildly, somehow we won this. I think the original battle went very, very, very luckily for us. If I remember correctly, the Knights of Avalon actually killed, like, the two topmost Hierophants very early on, because I think the Black Centaurs went and popped some people. And then they had both their Blood Surge and their Berserking active when they went and fought the Knights of Avalon. So I think that's kind of why they had the leg up in that particular regard. But yeah, this was kind of wild. Not a complete win, right? Like, our 10 Black Centaurs did end up winning against the Knights of Avalon. We took the province, but we still lost the 3 Hierophants. We lost a Black Centaur. We lost the Centaur Warriors. So from a gold perspective, we didn't really win out. And it was a very weird, lucky situation. So, that was Eagle Reach. We attacked in Force of the Lost. This is where we were concentrating our forces to go south into Phaeacian lands. There's nothing here. So easy peasy. And then we are attacked in Shade Forest by this Agarthan army. A lot of her. So there's nothing in Shade Forest. We're not really gonna lose much here or anything like that. But the concept is oh, great. So what's going on here? We've got a bunch of magma children, got a bunch of earth elementals, got a bunch of sentinels, got a fair number of shard guard, a fair number of olms in the back, and a mixture of heavies and defenders of the halls kind of holding up the rear. Notably, there is not a lot of mages in this. We have an Earth Reader, we have 2 Oracles of the Ancients, I believe, one being a prophet. Let's see about a Bless. So, Natural Protection +5, Undying 10, Reconstruction 5, and Heroism 70. So, for example, these fucking Sentinels have 27 protection, and they regenerate. They are slash resistant, pierce resistant. Hey, yike. The Shard Guard do have Shard Glaives, so they hit very hard. They also have pretty high protection, all things considered. Yeah, this is rough. This is rough. So that's an issue. This is what's coming at us. Oh, there's also a Olm Sage in there. Okay. All right. Okay. Great. We'll deal with that. We attacked in Mammoth Grove. We have a big stack of Centaur Warriors. We've got a Centaur Hierophant back here leading them, and we've got the Vampire who's set to get involved. And honestly, not a crazy amount of PD here. A large amount of PD, right? But not an overwhelming amount with Knights of Avalon reinforcements. So actually something we can do something about, right? So we do win in Mammoth Grove. We do lose 2 Centaur Warriors, not a massive deal. We do find an enemy temple and we raise it. Great. And like I said, like a fair amount of PD here. Man's putting a lot of PD into his provinces, protecting them with little squads of Knights of Babylon, and it works. Even if we win a raid, it hurts us quite severely. We also get attacked in Iron Peaks by some wolves and some archers. Don't lose that. We get to see Abysia moving on top of Bandar log. So Bandar does not hold outside the fort. We can see kind of like the Abyssian scenarios, summoned up some Leogryphs, has some Hellspawn. These guys are kind of cool. With Fireflare. Has some fucking Flagellants and Archers all mixed in. Kind of interesting. A bunch of wolves, the normal Abyssian troops, heavy infantry, infantry with shields, etc., etc. Has some great lions, some salamanders in the back. Has a fair number of mages, as well as his god here. So not a lot going on at the moment, but you can see there's basically just fire everywhere, a fair amount of chaff. Do these Flagellants have any sort of... They do have Fire Shield 7 and Regeneration 10. But I think they're still just gonna burn to death. Oh, they do fine. They do fine. They do fine. Only lost 12 of them. Probably primarily to their own burning. Same thing with the archers. Probably lost that primarily to the burning. Same thing with the Leogryphs and the wolves, right? There were very few kills on the enemy side. Most of this is friendly fire. So there's that. Bunch of mages here, etc., etc. So this looks like Abysia going in for the kill on Bandar log. So really interested to see this fight. Hopefully we get to watch it and see how it goes. And then we have our battle in the Fortress of the Klez. So, a raid on the Manish side is a whole metric shit ton of Knights of Avalon, an even larger metric shit ton of Longbowmen, a fair number of monks, but not a crazy amount of monks. Their prophet is here to bless up all these Knights of Avalon. We got a squad of Landless Knights in the back. We do not have a crazy amount here. We've got the garrison, of course. We've got a small stack of undead, which will die to the monks and the prophet. We have a large cluster of Minotaur warriors. We have a decent cluster of Jade Maidens. We have, I think, 2 or 3 casters. We have this Panic Apostate that's going to howl. In theory. We've got this Dryad Hag who's going to try to buff up these Minotaurs a little bit. And then we've got these Hierophants down here that are really just blessing the Jade Maidens. Our god is here. We sent in with the intention of doing some air elementals, forgetting that you lose paths when you separate the trios. So, not going to accomplish anything there. Is basically just going to returning out, I believe. Let's see how this goes. There's not really mages over here, so nothing doing there. He actually holds with his Knights of Avalon, which is interesting. Howl comes up. And we start to move forward. Did we get... Yeah, you can see, right, like we got enlarge on a couple of people here. So we got some big boys here or there. You know, more HP, slightly more damage. Pretty interesting situation. Wildly... These guys are so slow moving forward that we get out of the gap. I do not know what the Minotaurs are doing, but they are doing some stuff. The Howl goes off, and because we are not in a forest, it doesn't do very much. It does distract some of the fire here or there. And in point of fact, actually like kills a couple of archers because of it. Right? You can see them shooting into each other. So that's not bad. But the issue is because we kind of like came out in this little concave circle, it went very poorly for our Minotaurs and our Jade Maidens. And they kind of just get popped by the Knights of Avalon. There honestly isn't much different in this particular review or this particular version of the game compared to what actually happened. That is pretty close to what happened. That howl is kind of like fucking things up. Interesting. So that's, of course, again, not actually what happened. There is slight variations. Our Grey One did not stick around to die. Our Grey One did do the returning. Did have the gems for that. Didn't do anything else. Didn't accomplish anything else. I think cast one random other spell, like Body Ethereal or some shit like that. Because we fucked up on the scripting there, and then basically just bounced. We can see the Minotaur Warriors did almost nothing. The Jade Maidens did almost nothing. The Centaurs on the wall actually killed a few things here or there. We did kill 36 Longbowmen, right? We killed 2 Knights of Avalon. We killed 6 monks. So most of the monk kills and the longbow kills were actually from the Centaurs and they were from Centaurs shooting, or not the wolves getting kills, but the wolves getting shot at by longbowmen and thus killing themselves or monks. So there is that. This went very badly for us. Like, this went really, really badly for us. At the end of the day, it really hurts to have lost so much gold. 27 Jade Maidens, 45 a pop, 46 Minotaur Warriors, 50 gold a pop. That's a lot of money, plus the Dryad Hag, the Hierophants, the Apostate. That's a lot of the money that we had. Honestly, probably better that we don't have to pay upkeep for most of that anymore, because I don't think it was actually doing what we had hoped it would do. Because as we can see, right, like, you come in with this situation and it just... on the open field of battle, those Knights of Avalon slap us. Now, again, I think this went about as poorly as we could have it go. We could have done other stuff with that Grey One and returned out, and it would have gone better for us, but I just fucked up, I just fucked up on that. It is what it is. We were hoping, from a punitive standpoint, to kill like 20-ish Knights of Avalon and like 80-ish bowmen, right, was the hope. And we didn't get anywhere near that, so this went excruciatingly bad for us. Just from like an objective standpoint, like, it just did not work out. In Icton, Unrest and minus population. In Bycliff, we get an air gem, that's cool. We got Religious Misconceptions in Force of the Lost, and in Icton, we're under siege in Phaeacia, and our walls are damaged, and Frozone, god of Jotunheim, has been permanently vanquished. So the war between... what is that? Pyrene, however it's fucking pronounced, has finally ended, and Jotunheim has been vanquished, and now... they're a free agent, so that's pretty interesting. Speaking of free agents, of course what happens when Bandar log is about to be out in a war versus Abysia and Agartha, the option is, in their cave, their little cave, either Agartha and Abysia go to war, or Agartha's gonna have to go for me. They could, I guess, in theory, go for man, right, and branch out up and into here, but it would make way more sense for them to go for me. So of course they are going for me. The question is what's the extent that they are going for me? My assumption would be that they are going to try to take like this little section, right? Like Cliff, Shade Forest, Shadowglade, Kepria, etc. So that is my assumption. Alright. Fuck. The way things have maneuvered now, we didn't get what we wanted in Vaclez. And because we didn't get what we wanted in Vaclez, moving on something like Man or Haloma now is all but unrealistic, right? But if we don't move against Man, Man is going to be able to take the Phaeacian territories without issue. The Phaeacian territories were the only thing that were really giving us gold at this point. So that's a big issue, right? We had a relief army heading south towards Phaeacia. If we had done more punitive damage in Vaclez, then I would feel better about it. But that army was basically all of the troops that we had in Asphodel. If we continue south into the Phaeacian territories, we are losing part of what we have to defend ourselves from Agartha. We do still have the army in Sylvania, which I think is big enough to defend ourselves from Agartha. But we're back to we're back to two opponents. We never left a war on two fronts, right? Always having the northern front and the southern front, even after we finished off Phaeacia. But now we have the northern front, the southern front, and the eastern front. So it's not unexpected. It's not like no shade at the players or anything like that. Absolutely should be done. But damn. Okay. What are we gonna do about this? Well, diplomacy? Diplomacy? Question mark. Diplomacy and realism. Diplomacy and realism, I think, at this point. We are not gonna win this game. We had a very good early opening. We had the capability, had it been a 1v1 versus Phaeacia, that could have set us up to be in a position to make a play for winning the game. Because of the war against Phaeacia becoming a 1v3 and then a 1v2, with us eventually winning the war against Phaeacia and then being in a forever war with Man, and now having other individuals who, again, no shade against Agartha, really doesn't. The option is fight me or fight Abysia, right? Makes perfect sense to fight me. So there is little to no chance that we have any shot in this game because of primarily the decisions that we made, but also, we found out at a later date that I was a target even before I attacked Phaeacia. Me attacking Phaeacia just guaranteed me as the target, right? So, in that vein, and I think this is pretty interesting on how do different players play the game when they think they are out of the game, right? what do they do when they believe the game is over for them? Now, I'm not saying that there's no chance of us winning, that it's impossible for us to be able to like, there are plenty of players who are significantly better than me that can look at this board state and be like, oh, I can do X, Y, Z and potentially get back in this game, right? Sure, 100%, right? I'm not I'm none of those players, and I am vindictive. So, if we can't win, my intention almost always is to hurt the people I am fighting as much as possible, or waste their time as much as possible. You know, there's a lot of different ways you can mess with someone in that kind of vein of like, look, if I'm not gonna win, you're not going to win, right? Like, that's the concept. So, diplomacy is open. We are talking to a lot of different people about a lot of different things. I'm not going to go crazy in depth on any of those things because I think they will be better talking points when some of those things happen. But ultimately, we are now turning from the mindset of winning something, right? Because had we persecuted the war against Mans successfully, and had Phaeacian territory, some Manish territory, etc., then we might have been in a position where we could refocus on our research, refocus on turning into a gem economy, etc. But that's not going to happen now. We're going to have to defend ourselves against Agartha. We're going to have to defend ourselves against Man. It's going to take too much resources. We've taken too much time and lost too much and not swapped into the things. Blah, 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 blah. So now the way I'm operating is the concept of, okay, how do we do damage on our way out? In theory, right? Now, I'm not going to look gift horses in the mouth. If suddenly we won 5 big victories against Agartha Man and can flood their territories, then by all fucking means, we'll do it, right? And we will look for those opportunities. But realistically, that's probably not going to happen. So, Phaeacia is probably a lost cause. The fort here is at 418. We know the forces from Vaclez can get there very quickly. There are already other reinforcement groups that are near the Phaeacian area. What I think is more important right now is stomping a fucking mud hole in the Agarthan army and telling them to get back in their fucking caves. Right? Because when I look at what Man can bring against us, I go, damn, there are a lot of problems with trying to deal with this stuff. When I look at what Agartha can bring at us, I go, okay, I've got some ideas. So, so the plan is going to be to try to smash the fuck out of this Agarthan army, and then go, oh, we need more money? Well, there's Agarthan territories. Maybe we can take some of those. So that's what the majority of these movements are. We are bringing the Phaeacian relief force back to Asphodel so that we can smash the Agarthan army massively, right? That's the plan. Doing very little recruitment. In Black Minotaurs and a single mage. We are going to be poking into Agarthan territory with a small force. We're going to be following behind Agartha with another small force. We're going to be trying to pick up some of our Black Centaurs that got fucked in the Eagle Reach Mountains battle. Because those are still extremely valuable units. We're going to be moving around with some more of our other stuff. And the casting begins. Now, we are actually, for the first turn in a little while, we are actually being extremely specific about who's moving, who's not moving, who's summoning, etc., because we do want Alt 7 next turn. So I did want to do more than what we're doing right now, but because of having to move these guys, because I don't want him to go on Shadowglade and immediately pop it if I'm not ready, because of having to move these guys into Asphodel, we had to do less summoning, less other shit than I wanted to, so that we could hit Alt 7 this turn. After that, we are going for Enchantment 7. There's a bunch of goodies there, very specifically good goodies for us, but we are doing a little bit of summoning. So we are doing some Summer Lions. Summer Lions just being a decently good unit across the board. They hit fairly hard. We'll take a look at them when we actually summon them next turn. And these other two, I think, are more important and probably should have already been happening, at least in the case of the Draconians. So we're going to start dropping Draconians, probably a fair amount of them, probably burning through the majority of our air gems in order to have a fleet of Draconians. Those Draconians will be able to summon more Draconians, and I will do that, probably. And that's a big deal, right? So, Draconians are pretty decent units. Again, we'll take a look at them once we've actually summoned some. But at the same time, they're also flyers, they're backline threats, they allow you to pop fortifications significantly faster. They're some good shit. And then we're summoning some fucking Manticores. And this has all of the hallmarks of the Draconians, but some other very specific things. And the other very specific thing is that Manticores are very big, with lots of HP, and relatively low MR. And that's very important when dealing with something like 40 Great Olms, because Mind Blast tends to target higher HP creatures with lower MR, and it does not affect mindless beings. So, it does not affect things like our Carrion behemoths, which do have a lot of HP, have low MR, but are mindless. So it won't focus them. So when you bring an undead army, a bunch of mindless bastards into the mix against something like Agartha, the Great Olms will fucking focus fire your mages. And we definitely do not want that to happen. So we have to have other juicy targets for the Olms. And Manticores are a great juicy target that if they survive, which they have a lot of HP, so they definitely can survive. If they survive, they can also still be incredibly useful as flyers. They hit very hard. So we're going to probably summon a couple of those, primarily as bait. But yeah, we've got to see where Agartha goes. I am suspicious. I think they might go immediately for Shadowglade. And if they do go immediately for Shadowglade, we are going to be prepared to just smash them in the face. Because I think this army, while the army itself is fine, especially to fight us, Magma Children being pretty fucking good, right? While this army is fine to fight us, sending 4 mages at us is disrespectful. That's disrespectful at this point in the game. So we're 39 turns into the game, and you're gonna send a 250 stack against me with 4 mages? we're going to do our absolute best to murderate the entirety of this stack, and then basically say Agarthan surface lands are our lands. That's going to be the plan. Don't know if we'll actually be able to do this, right? I have confidence that we'll be able to smash the Agarthan army, but anything after that, right, you know, it depends on what Man does. Man's not just going to sit here and be like, okay, well, I'll take the Phaeacian territories. Agartha, you can take the Asphodel territories, right? Like, Man has fought for a lot of these lands. It is going to want a goodly portion of these lands, if not the majority of these lands, and then fight Agartha, right? So I don't know how this little tri-war, trifecta thing is going on, but I'm actually excited to have a foe that I feel like I have some tools to fight against. So we're gonna see how that goes. And this is in the retrospect of the concept of, like, I have discovered tools to fight against Man after the fact of fighting against Man. But in this moment, Agartha is fighting me, and I actually feel like I can do something about that. So, very excited to see how that goes. And then, like I said, right, a lot of diplomacy happening right now. And we're going to have to see what the results of that diplomacy is before we are able to actually move further down that conversation. So, that is going to be the end of turn 39. We'll see what moves Agartha makes and what Man does in response to this overall situation, and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.